Hey guys, it's GirlGotGame here with my final thoughts on Magical Diary Wolf Hall, the magical stat-raising dating sim visual novel from Hanako Games. Now, some of you may not know this, but the original Magical Diary Horse Hall, was the very first game I ever Let's Played on my YouTube channel, way back at the very end of 2014. I absolutely loved the first game, and I'm sure it'll be no surprise here that I also definitely love the sequel as well. It was so awesome to come back to this world. Definitely felt the nostalgia more than once while playing through this, but also really enjoyed all the new things that were introduced here in the sequel. So, without further ado, let's begin with the story for this game. The story is fairly straightforward, as it was in the first game. You're a freshman student going to a prestigious wizarding school in Vermont, where you get to choose which classes you attend, what schools of magic you want to advance in, which characters you want to spend time with, and what various clubs/activities you would like to do throughout the school year, with the goal of graduating your first year of school and going to the May Day ball, possibly with a special somebody that you've gotten close to over the school year. Both games feature a completely customizable MC. In Horse Hall, you played as an American wild seed girl, but here in Wolf Hall, we get to play as a male noble-born wizard exchange student from the mysterious country of Illyria, who's keeping his true identity a secret. So, right off the bat, you've got very different views and commentary on what's going on in the school and the characters within. While our wild seed girl was very confused about all things magical and how magical laws worked, such as how deadly making a promise can be, for example, our born wizard is very knowledgeable about all these things. However, he has a disadvantage in not being too knowledgeable when it comes to American traditions, since he's an exchange student. So I personally enjoyed getting to learn more about things from the first game, from the perspective of somebody who grew up in the magical world, who's very familiar with the other world and various magical beings, while also hearing his absolute confusion when it came to American sayings, food, and culture. It was very entertaining and super interesting. I will say that a lot of the events you go through in this game were taken right out of Horse Hall, which makes sense because it takes place in the same year. But because you're playing from this different perspective, it still feels fresh and new and like you're learning new things about these situations. A very good example of this is the fire event with Barbara. In Horse Hall, when this happens, all you really know is that Logan and Jacob's room their door gets set on fire, and Donald is blamed for it. Barbara's only name-dropped very briefly in that game. However, here in Wolf Hall, that same event happens, but now you get to meet Barbara and potentially befriend or even romance her, so now you can get way more context on what led up to that fire scene. Also, because Minnie is now a romance option in this game, the whole fire event could even be completely avoided altogether now based on your choices. And that's just one of many examples of similarities and differences between the two. So if anybody was holding back on this game because they thought, it's basically the same game as Horse Hall, but you got updated art, a male MC now instead of a female MC, that's not something to worry about here. There's definitely plenty of new and interesting content, as well as new perspectives on what was seen before, so it's definitely worth playing through. Multiple times, in my opinion, very much like the first game. I can also say with great certainty that even if you watched every video in my playthrough of this game, you could easily play through it yourself multiple times and see a bunch of things I never saw, since the game is constantly doing checks based on which characters you're close to, what events you've seen, which clubs you're in, what spells you've learned, etc. The list is endless, and I can safely say at least as much, if not more thought, went into the writing of this game as with the original. So, fantastic job there. Also, just want to briefly talk about our male MC. Talked a little about him already, so I just want to add that I loved how he's written. I was in constant awe at how confident he was, especially when asking someone out. Boy, wasn't fazed by nothing and nobody. Another thing I was constantly amazed by is how wise and mature he was. He had such sound and good advice for multiple characters in multiple situations. Definitely wise beyond his years. Assuming he is as young as he looks, we never did find out exactly what or who he really was. That'll have to be left to our imaginations forevermore, I guess. I also wanted to mention the new personality aspects in this game. They were a lot of fun too. In Horse Hall you had smart, strong, cute, and weird. In Wolf Hall, while smart and strong are still here, it's mainly used as stats for dungeons, although the smart stat does definitely come into play with some conversations. But now we have the additions of sporty, laid-back, flirty, and schemy personality types, and those were so much fun. Having different views or dialogue options based on your personality was really well done, and played off of characters in some fun and unexpected ways sometimes. I especially enjoyed my schemy Franco, and I'm going to miss him terribly. Next, I want to talk about the art. The art in this game is beautiful. Of course, having got used to the art style from Horsehall, it did take me quite a while to get used to the new sprite art for everybody, but that aside, everyone looks beautiful. There's a wide range of poses and expressions. Characters this is especially noticeable on are Pastel and Manuel. Pastel with her wings shifting along with her pose and face, and Manuel's adorable dog ears changing positions constantly. It really helped to give the characters life and feeling. A lot of the background art is the same from Horsehall, but now you get to see it in that beautiful full wide screen now, as opposed to being in a little box. And there are some added new backgrounds as well. For the most part, the new and the old mesh together very well. The style isn't so stark that you can easily tell which is the new and which is the old if you never played Horsehall before this. I can tell since I played the original, but they fit pretty seamlessly together in my opinion, and it was nice to have the nostalgia of seeing, scenes like the old detention room or the mall, while also seeing these beautiful new locales like the other world and the updated May Day ball gym background, which looks much more suited for a ball than it did in Horsehall. The UI also got an updated and fresh look. It looks so much better here. Instead of everything cluttering your screen at all times, everything's a lot smaller, and you can scroll over things to make them shift down if you want to see them more clearly. I definitely really liked that a lot. The only thing that felt a bit clunky to me is the quick bar system for spells. I found it a bit cumbersome to actually set the spells I used a lot in the quick bar. You have to really think about what you're doing, like what spell you want to put in which slot, and be careful that you're not double clicking and where you're clicking. So after a while I kind of gave up on it since I'm lazy, and I didn't mind navigating to the spell book and just picking which spells I wanted to use from there. That's probably just a me issue, but I thought I'd mention it. But overall, I definitely thought it was an improvement, and especially where the dungeon exams are concerned. Speaking of the dungeon exams, wow, those were so well thought out. Absolutely amazing job there. I remember being really impressed in the first game, and I think the exams are even more clever this time around. Some of them were familiar, but with twists, and some were completely new. Just like in the first game, there are numerous ways of solving them. All kinds of spells can be used to solve them, and sometimes you don't even need magic to solve them. You can also fail them a multiple of different ways, and have the fun of Grabner yelling at you over a particularly stupid way you failed something. I have to say, the dungeon exams in the original never scared me, but for some reason in Wolfhall I always felt extremely on edge. It just felt so eerie and creepy, like you could never be really sure what was lying just outside your field of view. If I had anything negative to say about the dungeons, it would only be that I wish there was a way to skip the exams after you solve them one playthrough through. That's mainly because I was doing as complete a run-through of the game as I could, and going through the exams the 20th time through got a little tiring after a while. So having that as an option would be nice for those who are wanting to play through for the dating shenanigans more so than the magic spell shenanigans. But overall, definitely enjoyed the exams, and I'm sure there's many more ways they could have been solved that I never even thought of. And finally, I'll just comment very briefly on the music. It's really good. Lots of familiar tunes from Horsehall here. I'm especially pleased that Grabby's theme remained unchanged for this. As soon as I heard that, I knew I was back in the world, so I was really happy about that. But there were also, once again, some new pieces that were really pretty. I really like the theme that plays when you first start the game after making a character. In my head, I've called it the America song, since it seems to play whenever the MC is contemplating American things, such as when he first arrives at the academy, or when the Thanksgiving event happens. I know that is most definitely 1000% not what the song is called, but hopefully you guys know which piece I mean. And also the new ending song for the game that plays during the credits is beautiful as well. I really loved that. So yeah, all in all, really enjoyed the music too. And now, drumroll, the main event, right everyone? Time to find out what my final ranking ended up being for everybody. So, let's get right into it since we have so many lovely people to get through here. Right at the bottom, I'm putting Laurel Aster, Not much to say since it was only a dance ending with her, and we literally only have one interaction with her throughout the whole game right at the end. She was really cute looking, and the whole senior class wanted her to be the new May princess, but other than that, I don't know much about her, so I decided to have her at the bottom. Up next, I had to go back and forth between two characters to decide who was next. In the end, I decided to put Pastel Rao here. While I do feel bad for her since she has, for most if not all of her life, been abandoned by her mom and never had any amount of stability ever, that's still not an excuse to steal your roommate's boyfriend out from under her nose. Especially when said roommate is Minnie, who deserves nothing but happiness. I will say here that I definitely don't dislike Pastel as a character. Her actions and thought process makes total sense given her background, and I do think she has definite potential as a character. It's just that the whole setup on how to get onto her route is not something I'm a fan of at all, so I felt like she had to go here on my list. Next, I put Logan Pfeiffer. Basically the same problem where he doesn't have an actual route, just a dance ending, but he's up here since we have numerous interactions with him throughout the school year, and I've always really liked Logan, even back in Horse Hall, and he deserves to be put above Pastel in my opinion. I'm sad that we didn't get more of an actual conversation between him and the MC during the dance, but I'm glad we were able to dance with him at least. After Logan, I'd have to go with Angela Kirsch. I mean, she's really straight up a bitch, as Virginia would call her. Getting onto her route is interesting, as she'll only approach you after William publicly turns you down. But I do have to respect the fact that she never tries to steal you away from William, even though it seems like she never really moves on from her exes, Damien included. Her route really didn't have that much going on with it though, but I did really enjoy the dance scene with her where Franco decided to reveal who he was to her and gave her some really thought-provoking advice for her to ponder now that she was graduating. I think that may have genuinely gotten through to her, and I'd be willing to give her a shot as a full route in a future game if that ever happens for sure. Up next, ironically, I would put William Danson on my list. He's very sweet, and while I really enjoyed his route, trying to break out of the little brother freshman zone was such a pain. You really gotta work for that William romance, and even when you do break out of that zone, William is still quite reserved, which I totally understand why, considering his experience with both Damien and Angela. Let's just say his track record with dating hasn't been the greatest, and then I introduced my schemy Franco in there, and I'm still not sure he came out ahead. I will say the Damien-William showdown was epic and super satisfying. I also have to mention that my interactions with William on other routes really made me appreciate him as a character a lot more as well. He's definitely a really good guy, just a little too reserved and bland for me personally. After William, on my list comes sweet Ellen Middleton. I was really curious to see how the romance with Ellen would go, considering she was also a romance option in the first game. While the similarities are there with her focus being on trying to bring science into the magical field and a lot of talk about the trouble she has with her family, the main thrust of the story really took a different turn with the introduction of Musette, a ghost echo released by the MC. I thought this was a really clever idea to make the routes different enough from each other. The Musette storyline was really interesting and I really enjoyed it. The only thing is, I think too much time was spent on Musette and solving her problem than on a dedicated, focused romance with Ellen. However, I do have to say that I think Ellen grew a lot more in this game than in the first game. She really matured, and I was really happy to see that she decided to keep her ties with her family, even though it was going to be difficult, rather than erase their memories completely as she always chose to do in the original. With everything that went on with Ellen and her route, obviously she was going to have to dedicate a lot of time to that rather than a romance, so while I enjoyed the story of her route overall, things could have been better in the actual romance part of the route for me anyways. Up next on my list is the very eligible May Queen herself, Corinna Lee. Corinna is a total package, I swear. She's gorgeous, both looks-wise and personality-wise. She's incredibly smart, elegant, refined. We also discovered that she's a Dampier, which was a neat twist I wasn't expecting from her. No wonder Franco wanted to invite her home. We didn't get a ton of interactions with her, but what we did see was super sweet, and I hope she gets a full route in a future game too. These routes are getting harder and harder to pick between as I go up. Well, next, I decided to put Suki Sato. She is so much fun, and she confuzzles me to absolutely no end. What an enigma that girl is. She knows so much about so many things, and we didn't even scratch the surface of her. Her route definitely left me guessing and falling for her. Sadly, though, we didn't really get to learn much about her as a person, though. I really want to know about her for sure, but because there wasn't a ton to her route either, I felt I had to put her here on my list. Although, yet again, someone else definitely deserving of a full route in a future game, if there is indeed one planned. I'm assuming a lot, aren't I? Whoops. But definitely, if another sequel were to be made, this girl is definitely someone I'd like to get to know more about. After Suki, I decided that this is where I'm putting Damian Ramsey on my list. Yet another old flame from Horse Hall. I've had a love-hate thing with Damian since the first game. He's probably one of the, if not the, most well-written character in the game. He really is as evil as he looks. What you see is what you get. But, gosh darn, his boy with a bad rep who just needs the right person to change him because he's really good underneath routine gets me every single frickin' time. And I literally have less than zero excuse to fall for it. I knew full well what he was really like from the last game. If I was going to wonder if anything changed with this, in this new game, the very first route I did certainly put that to rest. But always, what he says makes me wonder. As William says, he's very good at getting into your mind and making you question things that you know are impossible. At least this time around he wasn't after me for my soul. And I gotta say, it was really interesting and unsettling seeing how evil the MC could become if you chose to strike up a partnership of sorts with Damian at the end of his route. A truly terrifying, schemy power couple those two could be if nobody stops them. He's a lot of fun, even though I really want to punch him in the face like William did. Oh boy. Alright. And with that, I am at my top 5. Coming in at number 5, Barbara Salmoro, our mysterious, angry, quiet snake girl. I honestly didn't know what to expect from Barbara. Just getting her to talk to us was a feat in itself. Slowly earning her trust felt so rewarding, especially when we learned why she has so little trust in others. I was not expecting the deep feels when we learned her backstory. I was also really sad when she initially said she wasn't going to keep in touch, but I'm really glad that she did end up missing the MC enough to ask Suki to help her write/draw letters to him after he went home. And I absolutely adored when she gave him the lock part of her lock and key earring set. So sweet. Had to put this brave and sassy lady on my top 5 for sure. At number 4 is Manuel Arias, our sweet, precious werewolf boy. Never did get actual confirmation whether he is a werewolf. Dog boy, anyways. He is a pure, precious boy. I was honestly expecting him to be a lot shyer than he ended up being. He may not be very assertive, but he's certainly very open, honest, and friendly. He deserves all the hair ruffles and hugs for sure. And again, broken record here, I know. But if ever there's a sequel, I think Manuel's a good candidate for a full route. Anything, though, with more Manuel in it will make me happy. I absolutely adored him. Number 3, our butterfly president, Miss Minnie Cochran. Hands down, my favorite of the main routes. I really was expecting having to fight off both Kyo and Jacob for her hand, but other than a little mini kerfluffle with Kyo at the very beginning, he really did leave her alone like he said he would. And Jacob ended up being a total bro, so that was really great. Instead, our greatest hurdle was getting Minnie to slow down enough to have time for a romance. To say she's a hard worker is a complete understatement. It was so difficult watching her run herself into the ground constantly, using spells to keep herself going for days at a time. As we got closer to her, we did find out the reason she works so hard and tries to portray herself as someone that can be relied on is because of an incident that involved her mom many years ago. Was definitely not expecting that darkness behind Minnie's cheerful smile and helping hand that she shows everybody else. She definitely has a noble cause, but the insane amount of stress on the girl, not only from what she does every day, but from keeping her true motivations hidden, is unimaginable. I really loved how gentle yet firm the MC is with her on her route, being there for her, yet also reminding her that it's important for her to take care of herself so she can take care of others. Watching Minnie and the MC slowly come to trust each other with their secrets and become true partners was something I really enjoyed. Alright, number 2 is Raven Darkstar. What a delight our resident goth lady was. I absolutely loved that both our MC and Raven were pretending to be people they were not, to everyone around them and each other. It was such an interesting relationship since they obviously got on very well together, but a lot of their conversations were just completely fake for a while since they were just making up stuff about themselves so the truth about them wouldn't be revealed. But in spite of that, they were surprisingly comfortable around each other, and I really enjoyed their dynamic together. Plus, Raven is such a sweetie. I loved seeing her get so excited about vampires, and her style sense is perfection, so that's all I gotta say about her. And finally, at number 1, you all guessed it, after all this time, Mr. Luke Pfeiffer managed to keep my heart the entire way. I absolutely fell in love with that bean. I swear, that boy is too pure. His way of going about telling the MC that he was romantically interested was so funny and sweet. You could tell he was genuinely heartbroken when the MC had to leave at the end of the year, and that even in his friendship end, he had strong feelings still. While the boy is a klutz and a troublemaker, he definitely is also an open and sweet being who completely won me over. Any scene with Luke instantly put a smile on my face, on his route or otherwise, so he definitely won top spot for me. And there you have it, my final list. If I were to separate the routes, not the dance ends, but just the side routes from the main routes, then for side routes it would be from bottom to top, Pastel Rao, Angela Kirsch, Corinna Lee, Suki Sato, Manuel Arias, Raven Darkstar, and Luke Pfeiffer. And for the main routes, it would be William Danson, Ellen Middleton, Damian Ramsey, Barbara Salmoro, and Minnie Cochran. And now some fun bonus thingies I thought up for this one. Okay. Favorite school of magic? Blue always. I love alteration and teleportation. So handy. Least favorite school of magic? Probably green. No particular reason for that, it's just that the spells in the other schools were more interesting to me overall. Favorite personality type? Schemy. Sure, that surprised no one considering how often I picked it. It's the one that resonates the most with me, I guess. I don't know what that says about me, but there you go. Favorite date's dress? Definitely Raven. It was absolutely perfect for her and something I would consider wearing before I got too scared to follow through with it. Favorite date suit? Damian Ramsey's. How can you not like that otherworld prince chic? Favorite new character introduced? Blaze Beshley, for sure. Heir is so much fun and chaotic. Heir a really interesting character, and I'd love to learn more about him in whatever way, shape, or form. But there were a ton of new characters in this that were really neat. But Blaze was the one that interested me the most. Favorite teacher? Hieronymus Grabner. Always has my heart. Favorite hall? Snake Girl Solidarity. Favorite club? Nature Club. Baltazar is super knowledgeable, and I would love to hang with Nara and Manuel on hikes that are not hikes. Most mysterious person? Petunia Potsdam. That woman and her schemes and roundabout way of talking, I'm still no closer to figuring out what her game is exactly. Although I do also want to give an honorable mention to our librarian, Miss Trinity Darden. She's definitely up to something too. Favorite accessory from the magic shop? For me, it was the elf ears. Elf ears? I put on elf ears when I have my elf ears on, so there you go. And with that, that is all the random awards I could think of. So, there you have it, my final thoughts on Magical Diary Wolf Hall. In summation, it was great. I loved it and would heartily recommend it to new players and those who played the original Horse Hall as well. There's something for everybody. I hope you all enjoyed going on this journey with me through this game as well. I definitely enjoyed experiencing it with you all. And if you'd like, I'd love to hear your final thoughts, what your list ended up looking like, and if you'd like to answer the bonus, award thingies I made up here, or whatever we want to call them, feel free, and or if you came up with your own. I'd love to hear that as well. But that is it for me. Time to say farewell to this lovely game and go on to old/new horizons. Because starting Monday, I will be checking out Doki Doki Literature Plus. Thank you, by the way, to everyone who voted in my poll question about that game. I really appreciate knowing that I can safely just focus on the bonus side stories that have been added and ignore the base game. That's basically the same. Really appreciate it. So, I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully I will see you guys over there. If that's not your jam, I will also be playing Cinderella Phenomenon Evermore as well, so maybe I'll see you there. But either way though, thanks again for watching everybody, and as always, I will see you later.